Wakey, wakey. Peekaboo.
How did you get down there?
I'm Peter. It's nice to meet you.
It's Liam Crowley with Screen Rant here with the director and writer behind Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, Mr. Scott Chambers. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Oh, thank you. Hello.
Hello. You really took my mind for quite a spin on this movie. This was my first exposure to the twisted children's universe, if you will. And I am super stoked to dive into the rest of what you guys have done here. And I wanted to start by asking, doing a little bit of research before watching this movie, the Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was announced before the Winnie the Pooh horror movies were even, in the works. So with that, having released two of those films before this movie came out, how much did the Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare story change and evolve over the course of just expanding and growing this universe from the ground up?
Yeah, so this one, we had like kind of a batch that we were going to do. So it was always in that batch. And I kind of always knew that I wanted this one. Look, every entry to this universe is going to feel different to the last. So like I compare it to like the Conjuring universe in terms of, not compare it in a different way. Like in Conjuring, you kind of know what you're signing up to. Every time you watch one of those films, they've got the same tone, the same vibe, all that sort of thing. Whereas in ours, it's not like that. So if you don't like one of them, you may actually like the next one. So like, for example, if you don't like the B-movie campiness of the Winnie the Pooh films, you may like Pan because it's actually a lot more grounded, a lot more serious and disturbing. And then if you don't like that, then you might like Pinocchio because, he's wearing the skin, running around, killing people with his nose. So I think there's a lot of like fun to be had. And looking forward, there's a lot of like little winks to each of the other films, like the worlds are colliding a lot. Like, for example, in Peter Pan, the mother in it is actually Christopher Robin's therapist in Winnie the Pooh 2. And she's wearing the exact same outfit she was wearing in that because the films are happening at the same time. And then, because it's all leading to the Poohniverse Monsters Assemble, obviously. So, and then obviously Wendy she works at a hairdresser's and one of her friends at the hairdresser says, tonight we're going to go glamping, do you want to come? Thankfully, Wendy says no because that girl then goes and gets slaughtered by Pooh and Owl. So yeah, it's all fun.
Wow, I feel like you kind of answered my next question within your response there, but I still wanted to ask you deliberately. In Blood and Honey 2, after doing some deep dives, there's a lot of Easter eggs in that film to set up the grander TCU. I've only watched Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare once. If I go back and watch it a second time with an eagle eye, am I going to catch a lot more Easter eggs for the grander universe?
100%. Yeah, they've all got this. So like even like we literally 5 days ago finished filming Pinocchio. And that has cameos from people within these films. That film is set like, I think 4 months in the future from Peter Pan / Winnie, which happened at the same time. But you do see people, and it's all building to the Poohniverse, because these introductory films, I need you to feel a certain way about these characters, because when we get to Poohniverse, I don't have much time to kind of get to the action, and I need you to feel a certain way because I need there to be the bads and the bigger bads, and I need you to feel certain ways about them. So yeah.
Yeah, and as you mentioned with like the bads and the bigger bads, the big selling point of doing movies like this is taking these beloved protagonistic characters and putting a crazy horror twist on them. I feel like every character that you take on in these movies, I can't even say has shades of gray. It's mostly shades of like dark metallic black. That being said, though, Wendy Darling, I feel like is being positioned to eventually be a hero in this world. But still, that being said, it's under the TCU banner. So how will this iteration of Wendy differ from the Wendy that we've seen before?
This one is not perfect. So like the Wendy, I feel like everyone knows she is from a wealthy background, all that kind of stuff. Like you've got class to her, all that. And mine does, but I feel like mine's a lot more like you've met this Wendy before. She's not perfect. I'm not interested in writing for, like the perfect girl who has to go through jeopardy, run around screaming covered in blood. I want people that are real to life, that have genuine issues going on in their life, don't have the perfect relationships with their parents. She smokes, she does all these things. Like, she's a lot more realistic, and I feel like going forward with the trauma that she's going to face in Peter Pan and what's left of her, she's going to go up against it in Poohniverse, and I feel like this film has kind of put her at a place where you kind of know what she's capable of doing, but how can I test her limits in Poohniverse? And no one is safe in Poohniverse, so don't get too attached to Wendy because she might get destroyed.
That's a fair warning. It's a fair warning. We keep talking about Poohniverse Monsters Assembled. Obviously, this is going to be the grand crossover that we're all building towards. I believe it was originally slated for a 2025 release date. 2025 is only a couple of weeks away. Are you still on track to make that release date, or are we pivoting it to maybe further down the line?
Yeah, no. So I very much plan on shooting next summer, and it just depends. If we're able to turn it around and release it for the Halloween period of next year, I will definitely do that. But I don't want to rush it because I'm aware that like the fans of this stuff that we're doing, like their expectations are quite high. So I don't want to just smash it out and that everyone's disappointed. So I am going to take time with it, but you know. I never work slow anyway. I'm not used to doing that, so you'll get it quick.
Yeah, and you mentioned Halloween too. Is the ambition like if it's not Halloween 2025, you would wait until Halloween 2026?
No. It's just basically I feel like at the moment where we stand, the time period for this coming out would be like Halloween next year. But if we miss that, it will probably be like the first quarter of 2026. So it won't be far off it.
Okay, good to know. Obviously, that's where we're all building towards right now. All these like introductory films, if you will, are getting to that big crossover event. After that, though, are there ambitions? I'm sure you can't talk too much about it, but are there ambitions beyond the big Monsters Assembled movie to continue this universe far beyond?
100%. There's phase 2, which we have. We've already announced some of them. So like Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3, Tigger's Return, which is going to be a Tigger standalone film because everyone responded quite well to Tigger. So he's going to get a standalone. And then the next one I think I'm going to direct is Alice and the Mad Hatter. And at the minute, I'm enjoying exploring the idea that basically it's set at a escorting agency, which is called the White Rabbit. And Alice is an escort, which is a sex worker. And the Mad Hatter becomes obsessed with her. And for me, the references are a film called Opera, a little bit of Maniac with Elijah Wood, and my own spin, a bit of Maxine in there maybe as well. So I'm excited for that too.
Those are all great films to draw upon. I've never heard those films mentioned in the same sentence before. It's pretty unique. One final question for you, Scott. I had this fun one. It's so interesting to me. I was explaining this premise to my roommates because they weren't aware of the TCU. I'm like, oh no, did you know that the Disney characters went into public domain and now people are messing with genres and stuff like that? On the flip side though, are there any horror properties that you're a fan of that you would be super curious to have like a Disney-ified, like beautiful, completely positive remake on them? Like Jigsaw, he's just like, you know, he's
maybe Freddy
Krueger
because maybe Freddy Krueger, just because like we know him as being like a child abuser. So I guess let's see what Disney could do with that. And you know, he would kill the teenage kids in their dreams. So like I guess like Freddy Krueger, he'd be a nice little reverse, wouldn't he? Let's see what Disney would do with him. So yeah.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger is like a Make-A-Wish positive guy who's just helping kids.
yeah. With his little knives as fingers. Yeah, it'd be quite fun. I think him maybe.
That'd be pretty cool. Anyways, we got a lot to look forward to in the TCU. I feel like you guys are only just getting started, and I'm obsessed now that I've been introduced. So thank you for inspired work and for, you know, making something original in Hollywood. It's always appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. Who wants to come to Neverland with me?